Olivia, it's been 3 years since your last album, a long time in this business. Had you perhaps tired after all of your historic accomplishments of recording, or was there something on the personal side that kept you out of the studio?
Yes, I had a baby. I got married first, had a baby, and then decided I wanted to devote the first few years as a wife to just being at home and being a mum and giving her my time.
Did it prove to be everything you hoped?
That and more, yes.
You finally have returned now with the album, The Rumour. And this is named after a track written by Elton John and Bernie Taupin.
Yes, Elton, I'm very happy to say, wrote me the song. And Bernie wrote the lyrics, and I asked him would he write me a song and didn't really think it would happen, so I was really thrilled when they did. And then to add to that, Elton produced the track for me, so I'm very happy with the whole thing.
Well, of course, not that long ago, you and he were both on the same label as you are again now.
We are again.
That's right, and the hottest male and female artists in the United States. Did you know him well at that time?
We used to run into each other socially, and I did a special a long time ago that he played Candle in the Wind for me, which was a highlight. I loved that. It was one of my favorite songs. So he played, we didn't actually sing together, which was a shame, but we get to sing kind of together on this one because he did some background vocals for me on the radio.
Elton does not produce his own recordings, so this is a rather unusual task for him. Did he take a particular joy in that?
I think he just, he must have, I guess. He was acting as a friend, I think, and I think he was so excited about the song and that that I liked it so much that he decided to stay an extra week and produce it. He actually co-produced it with James Newton Howard, and he played all the piano on it, and he was at every session. He was at the drum track laying session, everything, and did the vocal backings. He and Bruce Robert and myself did that, so it was fun. We had a lot of fun doing it.
And could you relate to the lyrical content of the song?
Yes, I think you can interpret it many ways, that song, but I interpret it as a personal relationship, and once you start to believe things that it can never really be right again. And it's a very clever lyric. I think it's very unusual.
Everyone seems to like it, and indeed you've targeted it as a single, haven't you?
Yes.
And made a video.
Made a video, and as it was the last song to be recorded on the album, we did this video in America, whereas I did a special of the album in Australia, but this was the last one to be done, so we did it in LA. And Kenny Ortega, who did all the choreography for Dirty Dancing, did the choreography, and he's an old friend because we worked together in Xanadu, and so it's kind of been an old home week last week.
Can you describe the storyboard of this video for us?
It's a performance song. You know, videos are normally a little bit abstract, so I mean we have a lot of little vignettes to do with rumours and the different ways they're spread, basically, but it's a little bit abstract and it's dancing.
Well, that leads off the album. The second track on side one is called Love and Let Live. Mm-hmm. And unless my ears betray me, this is a very topical song about AIDS and the dangers of loving today.
Right. I felt this song was an important one because my producer found it, David Sigerson, who produced the majority of the album, and felt it was an important topic. And nobody that, well, I'm sure there may have been other songs, but I haven't heard one about this topic. And it's a very sensitive area, but I think the lyrics are done in such a way that it's not offensive in any way. And I think if we can even get through to one or two young people the dangers of those things today, and just to take precautions, which is really what the song is saying. You know, we have to tell others how to love and let live. And I think if we reach a couple of people, then that's what it's meant to do. And I think music has a kind of gentle way of getting through to people, sometimes more than the hammering home messages are.
It's a message that may be particularly in time and on time outside of the United States, because, as you sadly know, New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco are ahead on this matter. So perhaps you're getting the message out in time.
Well, I hope so, because, I mean, it's sadly a world problem, and it's, you know, it's not a judgmental song, because it can happen to anybody, and as time goes on, it seems to be spreading, and with the research that they have, you know, these are some of the ways that you can prevent it. So if I can make somebody aware of it, that's a good thing.
Musically, this song absolutely astounded me, because in 10 seconds it literally goes from ballad to rhythm to heavy metal.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all happening.
Yeah, it's all happening, yeah.
Following this on the album is one called Can't We Talk It Over in Bed, which sounds to me like a potential hit. Do you feel the same?
Yes, I love that song. I like it very much. I think the record company are hoping it'll be the second single. This song grabbed me right away when I just heard a rough demo of it, and I thought, yes, it's an instant, one of the songs that gets you right away, because it had kind of a Sam Cooke feel, and the lyrics also, I think, apply to most people in a relationship, you know, and this album is a lot about relationships. I think most of the songs have to do with relationships, and it's a grown-up lyric about people who have had an argument, and it is true, you usually say things when you're angry and then you regret them, and with a busy life, the one place you usually get to talk about it is in bed. Whichever way you want to interpret that, it usually is the way it happens.
I know you've already made a video for this one, with, of course, the title that sounds a bit tantalizing. Would you care to introduce it yourself?
The video to this is, I haven't seen it put together because we only filmed it last week and it was being cut, but it was really, I made it with my husband, Matt, and it was really kind of scenarios of the day in the life of a couple, you know, like making the bread and toast in the morning and having a cup of coffee and shaving and having an argument over something minor, which is what usually they're about. And it's really kind of the emotional things that people go through in a day and the physical things they go through in a day. Little vignettes, mostly in close-up.
Will this also be patched into the documentary you did for Australia?
I don't think this will be. I think this will be a separate thing later on.
Well, let's talk for a moment about that Australia program, because, of course, it was the bicentennial this year, and you're one of the few people in the world who can probably claim to have 3 home countries.
Yeah.
Having been born in Britain, lived for some great period of time in Australia, and now for over a dozen years in the United States. Dare I ask where your heart resides?
Well, there's that old Peter Allen song I still call Australia home. I feel that I lived there probably the most important years of my life, which are 5 to 16, which is your school years, your teenage years, and I kind of feel there's a very warm spot in my heart for Australia, and I have a little farm there I go to visit. But America has been really good to me, and I've been living there for the last 13 years, and my husband's American, my baby's American, and I've had a wonderful life there. England, I was only here for the first 5 years of my life, so my childhood memories are pretty short. And I lived here for kind of the beginnings of my career. So I owe it a lot because I worked with Cliff Richard here, and he kind of gave me my start in television and record, and so England has some very fond memories too. But I think Australia, I probably.
How would you describe the content of this bicentennial special?
Well, I took a film crew and went to Australia, and we filmed the opening celebrations of the bicentennial, the tall ships race. We went to Hobart, and I went on an Australian Navy destroyer and filmed with all the crew. Everybody in the show is a natural born, well, they're natural born, but they're all Aussies and they're not actors. They're all, you know, the real people we used in it. And we filmed in Sydney Harbour the day of Australia Day. It was one of the most incredible days in my life. There were about 10,000 ships in the harbour and Air Force planes going overhead, and Charles and Di were there, and they went by our boat and we had this huge lens trained on them, and I was waiting for the boat to come by. At the last minute they changed course, and the film crew picked up everything, ran to the other side of the boat, set it up. Here they come, turn on the tape, here they come. I was trying to get like a little bit of the song with them in the background. And just as they got like within frame, Di turned around and walked to the other side of the boat. So we got the Prime Minister for about 1 second and Charles for about 1 second. That was it.
Did you go into a little business in Los Angeles related to Australia?
Yes, I did. It was a little business. Now it's quite a big business, but I have, I can actually say this, a chain of stores now called Koala Blue. Started out as one store in Los Angeles on Melrose Avenue, and it started out as an Australian import store. And my girlfriend and I, Pat Farrow. Pat was my singing partner a long time ago, and we've been friends ever since. And John Farrow, her husband, produced the majority of my albums in my career, so we're very close-knit. And when I was on the physical tour, I was telling Pat that it would be great if we had a little place that we could open that had Australian everything, candies, you know, newspapers, meat pie. You'd hang out there. And she wanted to open a clothing store, so she suggested that we put the two ideas together. So we went to Australia, and with our briefcases, I might add, knowing nothing, and we picked out all the people who we thought would be accepted in America. We picked up the clothes and the books and everything. And went back and opened it, and for the first year we were an import store, but we found that anything with the name Koala Blue on it was what people wanted. We had some T-shirts left over from the opening party, and they sold immediately. So we just kept adding. We started out with T-shirts and sweatshirts, and now we have 4 fashion lines a year, and we're also franchised out some other stores, and we have 15 around the country, and we're opening in Japan in September.
It must be a source of pleasure to succeed in another way entirely.
Yes, it is. It's great. You know, something from the old age, that is.
Well, let's talk about tomorrow, because the 4th track on side 1 of her album is called Let's Talk About
Segue.
Tomorrow. And it seems to me that there are a couple of songs on the album which may well be there because you are now a mother. Mm-hmm. And this certainly could fall in that category, couldn't it?
Yes. Talk About Tomorrow is a song about ecology, and I co-wrote this with 2 friends. And I am concerned, I think when you become a parent, you become even more concerned about the fact that there's a world for your child, and that it's a clean world and a healthy world, and that there'll be the animals left that you've enjoyed. And I wanted to write a song about this very topic, so that's how I Talk About Tomorrow. Yeah.
And a very dramatic musical introduction. When I first played it in my house, our little puppy put her head up and looked all around. She knew something was going on.
Yeah, that's pretty late. It's strange maybe.
Now, why did you choose David Segerson to produce much of this album?
It was interesting, really. I had another manager at the time, and David had produced James Rain for Roger Davies, who was my manager then. And apparently David was in the office talking about something and saw my picture and said, you know, the kind of album she should be doing, and was telling Roger. Well, it so happened that I'd been telling Roger only a few months before that about the kind of album that I wanted to make, and the two ideas were the same, so he put it together. And I liked his David and David album that he had made very much. I thought it was very nicely produced, and I loved the songs and the content. So that's really, we clicked, and he inspired me to write more of my own material, and so it was a good marriage. I enjoyed working with him very much.
So both you and he had the same idea about making a same type of album.
Yes.
What do you think that is in words you can describe?
We started out, we wanted to make an album about women of my age group, women with children, women who are divorced, or women who are single parents, or just a women's view of the world how it is now. It's changed a lot. So that's really how it started out, and I think we've pretty much stuck to it.
Well, certainly something like It's Not Heaven is a song that you couldn't have convincingly done when you were working with Cliff Richard in Britain.
No, exactly. You've got to have life experience to write songs or to sing them, and I feel every time it's been time for me to record an album, I'm attracted to a different kind of song because of where I am in my life right now. I guess it's like anything. And this song I started driving up my hill in my car and pulled over on this terrible bend with my tape recorder in one hand and a paper in the other, and wrote down the first 2 verses. We've been talking about the fact about writing a song about single parenting. And I have a couple of friends who are in this position where they're raising children on their own. And it's not perfect, but, you know, and most women start out marriage with this fantasy. Maybe it's not a fantasy. For some it works, but for some it doesn't, that it's going to be forever and everything's going to be perfect. Well, life isn't always like that. So the song is about the fact that it isn't like that, but that doesn't mean it's bad. You know, life isn't perfect. Maybe if you accept that from the beginning, things are easier.
What you describe as the attitude behind making this album, and including songs like It's Not Heaven, shows either great bravery or naivete, in the sense that you're taking your career with you through life. Mm-hmm. If you look at your musical styles in your career, going from the good girl next door to the country girl to the Grease period and then the physical period, you are maturing as a woman. And this, it seems to me, is either brave to bring it into music or a bit naive. May I ask what you think it is?
I don't think it's naive. I don't think I'm that totally anymore. I hope I am in some areas, but I don't think so. I don't even know that it's brave. I don't think it's brave to sing about what you feel. I'm putting out things that I feel strongly about and that I like, and just hope that there's an area of people out there who also like the same thing. I don't feel I'm being really brave.
Perhaps it's just necessary to you.
Well, maybe it's just how I feel now. This is the music I like right now.
Do you feel great affection for the records you've made in the past?
Oh yes, all of them. All of them were very important to me and to my growth, and I wouldn't be here now without them.
I didn't know if you were aware of this, but in a recent tabulation of the American charts since the rock era began in 1955, Physical was the third best chart performer of all of them.
Fantastic.
So that's obviously one of the big hits of all time in the United States. And in Britain,
Not bad.
a similar tabulation, You're the One That I Want, was the #1 chart performer of the rock era.
God, not bad. John Farrar wrote You're the One That I Want, and Stevie Kipner wrote Physical, and they're both Australian. See? Saving me luck.
Well, who wrote Get Out?
I did, with Randy Goodrum.
Half Australian.
No, half Australian. That started out that we were in his studio and he was just going, he said, I hear something about a kitchen. I'm in the kitchen, I'm in the kitchen. And it kind of evolved from that. And this song is really about role reversal in a family. And it's kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but this is also very common now. A lot of women are out there working and the men are staying home minding the kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a change in roles, and it's just the acceptance of that that's hard for some people. So it's just one attitude in that role reversal.
Well, I know in the past you've received a lot of fan mail. I'm wondering if you're prepared to receive a lot of Dear Abby or Dear Marge Proust type mail, advice to the love lords. Because this is a new subject area for anyone, as well as yourself. And do you think you might get a little response like that?
Yeah, I'm sure. Some men don't like it. I think they find it, they think, get out, what do you mean? But I mean, it's kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it worked for the song really well. And it's angry, but it's not angry. You know, it's like, if you can't handle it, this is how life is right now, and I'm out there working, and you're at home, but, you know, what it does say, the most important line is, you know, it doesn't matter who does what, we're family, and that's really what it's all about, and it's kind of the final quote to the song. But I think most people find it kind of fun.
And the next one is for the family again, for the children, it seems to me, Big and Strong.
Yes, Big and Strong. That was interesting how we found that song. We were working in a studio in Hollywood, and one of the tape operators in the studio just happened to have made an album, because everywhere you go in Los Angeles, people are actors or singers, and he gave Davitt an album of his to listen to. And Big and Strong was on the album, and we thought it was a strong message and a strong kind of performance song for me.
Well, that's interesting that you should get a song in that manner, because with a 3-year interval, you must have received a lot of submissions.
We went through hundreds. Davitt probably went through even more than that, and the record company went through a lot more too. It's amazing when it comes down to it, how few songs, doesn't mean there aren't great songs out there, but how many get to you and how many you like. A lot of singer-songwriters keep them for themselves now, or they send them directly to an artist who's kind of hot at the moment. I'm coming out with a new album, I haven't been around for a while, so it was very hard to get strong material. But we would record outside stuff if we found the right one.
The cover of this album is a pose of you with, shall we say, windswept hair?
Yes, kind of. It was a pretty windy day. I shot the album cover with Herb Ritz, who did my Physical album cover and who I've worked with a lot, and who's my favourite photographer, I'd say. And it was done on the hillside behind my house. Very casual, really. It isn't really a posed photograph, it's just a very casual shot.
Of course, such a photo as this is important to your image as perceived by the buyer of the record. I'm wondering if the record company takes an interest in the selection of sleeves, or is it up to you?
They're involved, of course. We went through all the photographs, and when I say we, my manager and my secretary and myself basically went through all the photographs and selected the ones that we thought were most suitable. And we came to a kind of a common agreement on the one that should be it. And I think this is the one they like the best.
We have a track in the middle of the second side, which is nearly 5 minutes in length, called Car Games. Now, I mention the length because that is long for you. And you have a couple of tracks here which are, shall we say, more fully explored than you might have in the past. What was it about this one that really interested you?
Well, this song I wrote, again, with Randy. And I had written the lyrics and the melody to this song about 4 years ago because it intrigued me. I don't know, when you live in Los Angeles, you spend a lot of time in your car. And I used to drive along and, you know, you see someone out the corner of your eye, and I used to daydream about, you know, fantasy people that you'd meet on the street, and I wondered if that person met that person, did they travel to work every day this way, and I'd make up stories about number plates, and I thought this would be a very interesting idea for a song. So the song is about people on the freeway who see each other and well, you listen to the lyrics, you know what it's about, but I think a lot of people do it, and, you know, they have their little fantasies going home from work or going to work, and Brandy came up with a great feel for it, and we wrote the song together, and that's how it ended up. You spend a lot of your time in your car. I spend maybe, if I go to town, I spend an hour and a half in my car going back and forth every day, and that's a lot of time, listen to the radio, etc. But this is how the whole thing came up in my mind.
Is Los Angeles a city you still love?
The city itself, it doesn't really have a city. It's not really, it's kind of a place without a heart, Los Angeles. You can take that either way, but it doesn't really have a middle place you could say was the centre. It kind of has all these little areas, and I like living there in the fact that I have a lovely home, and I'm in a beach area that's kind of removed from the downtown area and the really busy section. As far as it's a very pretty place, it's very polluted. I'd say that would be the negative side, but it's really where everything is going on as far as music and film. So for me, at this point in my life, it's the place to be, and for my husband too.
You've actually tried to be an author now.
Yeah, we tried to do that. I have a friend, and we got married around about the same time. We had our children 6 weeks apart, and we wrote a script together. That was the next step. So we had a funny idea when we were both single women. This is really kind of what the album's about too. Single women who wanted to get married, had children, and weren't married yet, and the time clock's running out, and that's kind of what the song's about. And what a lot of women are going through right now. A lot of career women who want to have families, and now in their late 30s they're thinking about settling down, and they can't find the man. And that's
Walk Through Fire is the longest track on the album, and it's a sort of smoldery, slow one.
Mm-hmm.
We can call it that. Now, of course, a lot of people enjoy your ballad mode a lot. Is it one you like?
Yeah, I love this song. I think it's a lovely song. It's written for me by David and David, who David produced I think they've had 2 albums. He's going to do the next one. And one of the Davids, I get their last names mixed up, played all the keyboards for me on it. And I think it's a beautiful lyric. It's a kind of an adult love song about commitment. And I fell in love with that the first time I heard it too.
The final track on the album is called Tutta la Vita, but people might be deluded into thinking it's Italian. You don't actually break out into Volare, however.
No, it was originally in Italian. It was a very big hit for the author. And apparently it was a monstrous hit in Italy and in Spanish too. And don't ask me his name because I've gone blank right now. But anyway, David wrote an English lyric to it that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek look at life. But I enjoyed this track a lot. I got all my friends on the end cutting and singing along.
Well, it all adds up to an album which is, as you say, of a feel and a step forward for you. As you look back, can you yourself recognize the phases of musical career you've gone through?
Oh yeah, I can see a lot of changes, sure. And I hope that never stops.
So now we have, of course, musician, actress, author, businesswoman.
Unproved, unproven.
Unproved, okay. And businesswoman. What do you look forward to now?
Gosh, everything's pretty great as it is. Look forward to a healthy life and career and continued happiness with my family, which is really all important. I think I have it all. I'm very lucky.
People will be watching this throughout the world. Will your family commitments keep you from making live appearances around the world?
Probably at the moment, yes, because Chloe's still little, and I don't really see myself doing live performances, but I'll do television and videos and all that stuff, so I'll still be around.
Here's looking at you in that way then.
Thank you.